Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the most exciting Champions League game week so far. This is Champions League week number 5. So welcome everybody to the full 90. First of all, thank you very much for giving me some of your time today to watch my Champions League week 5 predictions. Now, the last week I didn't do too bad. There were a few upsets in there, such as the victory 4-0 for Club Brugge, the victory, of course, for Red Star Belgrade. That was a bit of a shock. And we only walked away with one exactly correct score from Champions League week 4, which was the Benfica and Ajax game. So hopefully we can do a little bit better than that this time round. And like I said, the penultimate week is always the big week for, you know, any group qualification event in basically all sports, because by the last week it's usually decided by that point. This week really is the decider for most, if not all, of the groups in the Champions League. So it is super exciting, of course, with the biggest games being PSG versus Liverpool. Whether you're a neutral, whether you're a UK fan, so you want Liverpool to win, whether you want PSG to win, it's going to be an absolutely insane game. There's a lot of important stuff happening, and obviously Champions League is one of my favorite videos to record. So let's just get straight in, kicking it off with one of the games that doesn't mean as much. We've got AEK Athens, who are officially out of the Champions League already, against Ajax, who I think will be qualifying, and I think Ajax are going to just scrape the away win here 2-1. I'm pretty sure they beat Athens fairly comfortably at home, but as it's away, that could pose a slightly more difficult task. But I do think Ajax still are going to win this game, and I do think they are going to advance through the group stages along with Bayern Munich. The next game is CSKA Moscow versus Viktoria Plzen, and this is going to be a fight for the Europa League spot, in my opinion, because Roma and Real Madrid kind of have this group tied up, in my opinion. And CSKA Moscow, they did manage to beat Real Madrid, despite Real Madrid's, you know, majority possession, majority shots and stuff. They did do that, and they are putting in a decent shift, and I think they are showing a little bit more than Viktoria Plzen. Although Plzen did lose to Real Madrid narrowly 2-1, I think they're not going to be able to beat CSKA Moscow at their home ground. So I'm going with another 2-1 to CSKA Moscow. And fun fact, since starting the full 90, the score that I've correctly predicted the most is the 2-1 scoreline. So maybe this will come to fruition once more. And another fun fact as well, the last 3 2-0 predictions that I made in the Premier League all ended in a 0-0. So I'm wondering if the 2-0s that I've got in today's video will follow suit and also end in a 0-0. We'll find out. But the next game is Roma versus Real Madrid. Now, Real Madrid did hand Roma a heavy 3-0 loss in the reverse fixture at Real Madrid, but I think this one's going to be a little bit different. And Real Madrid have been really struggling in the league. They clearly miss Ronaldo, and Juve are doing better than they've ever done almost. You know, they're doing insane, so it really does show the difference. And I think Roma are going to want to grab something from this game. Like I said, I think they've already qualified. I think that's pretty much done and dusted. But I'm going for a 1-1 draw here, because I was tempted to put a Roma win, which would kind of be an upset to some, but it also wouldn't surprise me given how bad Real Madrid have been playing. But maybe they'll turn up and beat Roma as well. So for that reason, I'm going with the 1-1. The next game, another big game really, is Lyon home against Manchester City. Now, Lyon are the only team to have beaten Man City this season, and they did it at the Etihad, which was a huge shock to everyone. It just shows what Lyon are capable of, and I think they're currently sitting second in League One behind PSG, so, you know, there's no surprise there. But I do think, rather than, that was a great performance from Lyon, but I think that was more of an off day for Manchester City. They have since then they've been doing absolute bits. They've been doing so well, scoring goals for fun all across the park. And although Lyon did beat them at the Etihad, I think this one's going to be, it's going to fire Manchester City up even more. And I think Man City are going to walk away with the win here, 3-1. It could be a 3-2. It could be a goal fest. Lyon might get a draw. And I think if Lyon gets a draw, that's pretty much enough to secure their place in the knockout stages along with Manchester City. But I am going with a Manchester City 3-1 scoreline. The next game is Juventus against Valencia. Now, this group got a little bit more interesting when Manchester United beat Juventus. Obviously, Juventus are going to go through, and I just think Man United beating Juventus makes it a lot easier for Man United to gain qualification ahead of Valencia. But I'm going with a 3-0 scoreline here to Juventus, a team that are just looking really solid, very strong at the back, and very good going forward. You know, it's Juventus. They're one of my favourites to win this year. From what I've seen so far in the group stages and in domestic leagues, I think the best and most entertaining Champions League final would be Juventus versus Manchester City. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think down in the comments, of course, as well as your predictions for these games. Moving on, we have Manchester United versus Young Boys. A 2-0 prediction is what I'm going for here. They managed to beat the Young Boys 3-0 away, but I think that was slightly flattering towards Manchester United. Young Boys did have some early chances. They do press. They are a good attacking team. Manchester United, they are struggling. They drew 0-0 with Crystal Palace at Old Trafford. And to be honest, I think if you put Crystal Palace against Young Boys, I think Young Boys would just destroy them. I think Young Boys would beat Crystal Palace. So it's going to be interesting. Funnily enough, the 2-0 to 0-0 statistic I mentioned earlier in the video, Manchester United versus Crystal Palace was one of those games. I predicted 2-0 to United. It ended 0-0. So will this 2-0 to Manchester United prediction end 0-0 again? I don't know, but that is what I'm going for. The next game is Bayern Munich versus Benfica, and I'm going with a solid Bayern Munich win here. I'm going to go with 3-1 just to keep Bayern at the top of the group. I think they're pretty much guaranteed qualification, but if they win this, then it will be done and dusted. They will be statistically through. So I'm just going to move on from there. I don't think Benfica, I think they've been unlucky, Benfica, because they're not a terrible side. I just think Ajax have had a better time in the group stages, so that's unfortunate for them. The next game, this is also a very big game actually, kind of the group decider in Manchester City and Lyon's group. If Hoffenheim lose this, I'm pretty sure Lyon will be looking very likely to go through. If it's a draw as well, it would look very likely that Lyon will go through, because I think Hoffenheim then have to go and face Manchester City, which I think they'll get nothing out of. So with that being said, with Hoffenheim absolutely needing to win this game, although Shakhtar Donetsk, they've been unlucky with their results. They're a decent team, but they've been really struggling to get the results. They got absolutely battered by Man City. I'm going for Hoffenheim just to edge it with the home advantage, 2-1. But if this is a draw, it would not surprise me in the slightest. So now we are moving on to the next day, which is Wednesday the 28th of November, starting off with Lokomotiv Moscow against Galatasaray. I'm going with Galatasaray to win this one. Lokomotiv Moscow, I think they already haven't qualified. I think they're out of that race. I could be wrong there. No, they're definitely out. They are definitely out. And I think Galatasaray have been, they're a decent team, but they've been handed a tricky group and they haven't had the best group stage. But I do think they are going to win this fixture 2-1. And I think if they don't qualify, which I don't think they will, I think they will be the ones getting the Europa League spot. The next game is Atletico Madrid versus Monaco. Monaco, they're already down and out. There's no chance of qualification. Maybe they could get Europa League, but the way they're playing, even though they've got Thierry Henry as the new coach, I just don't see it happening. I'm going with a solid 3-0 win to Atletico Madrid. And now the next game in Group A, Borussia Dortmund versus Club Brugge. Dortmund playing extremely well. If you haven't seen it recently, Borussia Dortmund played Bayern Munich. I won't spoil the result, but go ahead and watch the highlights. What a roller coaster of a game, and it just shows what Borussia Dortmund are about, you know, and I see them doing fairly well in this competition. Will they go all the way? I don't think so, but they're doing extremely well in the Bundesliga, and they look well on their way to challenging to win that. They look like they're going to win it at this point. And I think they are going to absolutely stomp Club Brugge into the ground, despite Club Brugge beating Monaco, you know, 4-0, and despite Borussia Dortmund only beating Club Brugge 1-0 in the reverse fixture. I think at home it's a different atmosphere, and I'm going with a Dortmund 4-1 win. Now we move on to the big games. We have, I believe it's Group C, PSG versus Liverpool. Now, Mbappe and Neymar were both injured in the international break. Neymar went off after 8 minutes with some kind of problem with his ankle, I think, and Mbappe fell very awkwardly on his right shoulder. But Thomas Tuchel has said that they'll return to training today, and it looks like they are going to be ready. I think had the game been on the Tuesday, it might have been a little bit more questionable, but obviously PSG need to win this. If PSG lose this game, they basically need Red Star Belgrade to beat Napoli to be in the competition, because if Liverpool win this game, they have guaranteed qualification. So obviously Liverpool are going to be giving it their all to try and guarantee qualification, but PSG are also going to be trying to give it their all to guarantee at this point not getting knocked out, because if PSG win, it then looks very, very likely that they qualify, because all they have to do then is beat Red Star Belgrade, which they should do. So basically, whoever wins this game, if Liverpool win this game, they statistically do go through the group stages. If PSG win this game, it's like 99% chance that they'll go through. So this is a must-win game for both teams, and I just think at PSG's ground, if they have full strength with Neymar, Mbappe, I think Dani Alves might be coming back from an injury as well, which would be great for them. If they play a full-strength team, I just cannot see, although Liverpool beat PSG at the end at Anfield, that's different. Liverpool never concede at Anfield, and they conceded 2 against PSG. I just think if they're full strength, PSG are going to beat Liverpool, and I'm going with a 3-1 scoreline. That's brave. Maybe 2-1 would make more sense. Maybe it will end in 2-2. Maybe it'll be, if it was a low scoring, a 1-1. But I just think PSG are going to be so fired up, and as long as they don't get injured in the game, or as long as they play in the game, Mbappe, Neymar, and all the good players, I see PSG actually winning this one. And if they do, that would make match day and game week 6 so exciting. In my opinion, I would really want PSG to go through because I think they're so entertaining to watch. I'd love to see Neymar and Mbappe go as far as possible in the Champions League because they're fun to watch. And I'd love to see Liverpool go through. Obviously, they're a UK club, and I think they also are great to watch. Napoli have been grinding out results. They've been doing really well. But if I had to pick, I'd go with PSG and Liverpool. So ideally here, we'd have, let's say, PSG beat Liverpool, because I think that's going to happen. Napoli would probably beat Red Star Belgrade, which we'll get onto. And then Liverpool beat Napoli like 4-0 at Anfield. And PSG and Liverpool can, qualify, and Napoli goes to the Europa League. Or maybe even Red Star Belgrade goes to the Europa League if they slap up Napoli. But you never know. So yeah, that would be my ideal situation and scenario, PSG and Liverpool to qualify. But the next game is Napoli versus Red Star Belgrade. Napoli have not scored against Red Star Belgrade yet. They are the only team in the group to do so. They drew 0-0 with them at their home ground, the same ground that Liverpool lost 2-0 at. But obviously this is at Napoli's ground. It's a bit different. They don't have the atmosphere of Red Star Belgrade, which is quite a gloomy one. And I'm going for not necessarily as high scoring as some people would think, but I think a solid enough 2-0 win to Napoli. Now, like I said, because on the basis that I want PSG and Liverpool to qualify, I would love it to be, a 1-1, a 2-2 draw. A 0-0 would be hilarious. Or Red Star Belgrade to even win, but I just can't see that happening. I'm going with a Napoli 2-0 win because Napoli, this is kind of a must-win for them as well. It's a must-win for Red Star Belgrade too, because if Red Star Belgrade win, they go on 7 points. They go ahead of Napoli. They go ahead of Liverpool if Liverpool lose to PSG. So Red Star Belgrade, although they are massive underdogs, thanks to that victory against Liverpool, which proves they can do it, they are still in the race to qualify, or at least the Europa League spot. So this is a must-win for Red Star Belgrade, which might pump them up to get something out of this game, maybe a goal, but I just can't see Napoli losing this with the situation that they're in. So the next game moving on is PSV Eindhoven versus Barcelona. Barcelona have already qualified, so whether or not that means they'll play a weaker team or rest some players, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm going with a 3-1 away win to Barcelona. PSV they're strong on the attack, as often these clubs are that come from, top of their domestic league into the Champions League. They're used to just putting goals and goals and goals past these teams, but Barcelona's a little bit different, so that's why I'm going with a 3-1 win to Barcelona. The next game, the top of the group, Porto against Schalke. Now, I think Schalke are going to qualify with Porto. Porto is more or less guaranteed qualification, and I think if they draw this game, at least they are statistically through already without even playing the last game. The first game between the two teams finished 1-1, but Porto did miss a penalty, so Porto really should have won that game away 2-1, and that is the scoreline that I'm going with here. Porto to win this one at home, 2-1 against Schalke. Now, the next game, Tottenham against Inter Milan. This is a big game. Tottenham, they threw away the previous result against Inter Milan, which was, I guess you could say, a shock, a poor performance, but Tottenham have been picking it up in the Premier League. They've been doing really, really well. They really outclassed Chelsea in their 3-1 win at Wembley. They're playing at the same ground, and although Inter Milan are on decent form, obviously Icardi is doing extremely well for them, I actually think Tottenham are going to win this game, and I'm going with a high-scoring goal fest because I think Tottenham are going to make mistakes at the back, but I think their front players are going to be too strong, and I'm going with a 3-2 win to Tottenham to make that group extremely interesting. So that is it for my Champions League predictions. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like on it, subscribe today, hit the bell to not miss a single upload. The next upload, I believe, will be Premier League predictions. I think there's a lot of Premier League predictions coming up, obviously with the festive period, a lot of games, and then Champions League Week 6 just a couple weeks away as well. So yeah, leave a like on the video, leave your comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.